teaching danger safety.
Welcome back. We just were looking at some of the comments that you guys sent in. I'm going to start with the one that came in the most recently on YouTube. Hello, Ms. Shannon and Ms. Evelyn.
Hello.
My son is a high-functioning kid. What are the prerequisite skills needed to teach stranger safety? And thanks. Have a good day. Thank you, Pearl. What do you want to say about that?
I love teaching stranger safety.
And that's just weird. Can I just comment that that's just a weird thing that you would love to do that? Although I can appreciate that once you teach it to kids, you know that they are safer, and that's a very good thing.
I think I have it in my brain. I had my first kid, recovery, she was 4, and we were going to teach her, and she's the one that she's cute as a button, big bows in her hair, and she'd just run up to any stranger and try to sit in their lap.
Yeah.
So we had to really stop a lot of things, and we gave her some, depending on what level of understanding the kid has. If the child has cognitively able to understand, if you know the name of the person initially when they're younger, if you know their name and they're like mommy's friend or the teacher's friend or something, you can say yes. But if you don't know their name or if you've seen them, you should ask somebody. So you can ask rules like, can I go to that person, or can I ask, whatever it may be. But there are a lot of kids here who will run into a stranger's lap and there's no vocalization. They can't talk. They don't understand receptive language, especially at the beginning. And so for those kids, there's different topics that we've had, but what a lot of times we do is, because we're at a clinic, we can actually get other people involved.
Right.
So we know who the kid knows and who the kid doesn't know.
Yeah.
So then you can label somebody as stranger or not stranger, but if you don't have the vocal ability and you don't have the receptive knowledge of that, then what we will tend to do is we'll plant people in the community, and if the kid runs up to them, we actually do just tell the kid no.
Right.
And we give a whole pattern of response to the parent and how to bring them back, and you don't get there. And if they go but come back, you give a high reinforcer.
There you go.
And just planting reinforcers and planting people in the environment who initially it's just the stranger, and then it's like the stranger carrying the candy or the object that the kid loves, whatever it may be. And just think there's going to be tangible objects that somebody's holding that the kids are just really interested in.
Yeah.
And just slowly adding one variable at a time, and teaching the stranger to basically tell the kid, no, you don't come here. And by that ability, we don't usually work on stranger awareness if we don't have compliance from the child.
Yeah.
And compliance is, if I always say, you have compliance when the kid takes off and you just say no and they stop.
Yeah.
And people used to laugh in schools. Our kid would go running in school, and all I'd say no, and the kid would look like they had a cane that stopped them.
Right.
And they would immediately just stop, and and they knew they had to come back.
Yeah.
And if they're able to follow all those compliance rules, if you say no, if you say come here, if they can follow basic instructions, then that is a time to be able to teach stranger awareness. If you don't have good compliance, where if a kid takes off and they will not listen to you when you say no, you can't go to the point of teaching stranger awareness.
Yeah, you got to get that in place first.
You have to get compliance in place, and just that kid needs to understand that if you say no or stop, they do stop, and they do understand what no means, and they're able to come back. And it's for those really challenged kids that don't talk and don't have one-word instructions.
Yeah.
Being able to follow one-step instructions. But I'd have to say that so many of our kids here, they can do at least the compliance aspect, because that's the first thing we work on in ABA is we do compliance before we do anything else, because if the kid's not listening to you just to stay near you, it's really hard to teach.
Absolutely. It's one of the first pieces. And we haven't brought up skills, but in the skills curriculum, there are so many lessons that add up to safety and stranger safety. It's sort of different for each kid, but I'll be honest, you know what I wish we had? You know how, like anybody who's into oils now, the essential oils, and they have all these recipes on Pinterest. If you have a headache, it's these, a drop of this oil and a drop of this oil, and then, roll it on your wrist and it'll get rid of your headache. Whether that works or not, I don't know, but I like the little recipes. I wish that skills had recipes. That if, you want to teach stranger danger, well, first you have to have, and they will tell you if you go into the lesson what the prerequisite is. But to know all the lessons from all the curricula that you need to do to get to stranger safety, because I remember the period of time that they were teaching my son, first I had to go around and take pictures of people. They asked me for a list of the 5 stores that we went to the most. So I'm like Trader Joe's, Target, the grocery store, all these different places. And I had to go and take pictures of employees, and I had to tell them at the front desk that I was going to do that. And then they worked on that. They were like, where is this worker from? Oh, that's Trader Joe's. How do you know it's a worker? What are they wearing? Oh, they have a name badge. They're wearing the Hawaiian shirt, and they've got, this kind of pants on. Oh, and at Target, I never noticed this before, but at Target, everybody has a red shirt with khakis on and a name badge. And, so we went through all these different places with him and talked about who's a worker, right? And at the same time, they were identifying other people in the community, like a police officer and firemen and all of those people. And I was like, why did they need to know what the uniform of a Trader Joe's was? I was always like 7 steps behind an ABA going, why are we doing that? And then when it would come together, I'd go, oh, that's why we did that. Because later on, when they were teaching him safety, and if he got lost in a store, who do you go to? You find a worker. How do you know what they look like? And he already knew.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's why he needed to know that at Trader Joe's they wear the floral shirts. Mm-hmm. And then we expanded it to bigger things, and then, of course, we had drills that we did. My husband and I just were talking about this the other day, that we had to go to Target, go up to the counter and say, we're going to do a lost child drill. This is the therapist. I'm the mom. This is the child. And then, so the therapist was with my child, and I had to walk away.
Yeah.
And then he had to identify to the therapist, and they had practiced it beforehand. But he had to say to the therapist, I don't know where mommy is, and then to look for her, and then go to the front desk. And I was hiding behind the shopping carts, and everybody at Target was so interested to see. And he pranced right up to the counter and he said, my mom is lost, right? My mom can't find me. She's the one who's lost. And then they paged me, and I came up. But then we had to do the big one where, and I couldn't do it because I was going to have heart palpitations, where they had 3 people in the store that were plants, and one who was going to be the person who was going to go up to him, who was an unknown person. And my husband had to sneakily walk away, and my son didn't know this was going to happen on this day. But we'd rehearsed a bunch of different things. So there were 3 people to watch to make sure that nobody else could, take my child away. And I was doing a live radio show while this was happening and waiting for texts that he was okay. But the person who was the stranger walked up, and they'd identified a thing that, Jem always wanted to help. And if there was a sick puppy, and the guy was like, can you help me? I have a sick puppy. I need some help right now. And Jem was like, you're a stranger. I need help. You're a stranger. And then he ran to a worker, and we were able to document, and he, did it exactly right. But that took us probably a year and a half.
It takes so long to do.
Yeah.
And parents want to work it initially, and we're working on compliance, and we're like, identifying people. There's all these, and it just depends on the level of the child you have.
Of course.
And then there,
and where you live, and where you go.
Live, and where you go, and I was trying to explain to an insurance payer.
Yeah.
Why I was like, this child's elopement wasn't the same as another child's elopement, because the kid that runs off, and then versus the kid that just kind of wanders off. It's a very different interaction. They can both be seen as being dangerous.
Yes.
But they're different. The
Absolutely.
Kid who takes off, you do sometimes have to teach certain things initially, and then maybe you won't go back to it for a year, and then go back and teach the next step to it. But it does take a while, and it's really useful to find people who will help you to be the stranger.
Absolutely. And but my beginning point was that there are all these lessons and skills that can equal up to it. But there isn't a perfect recipe like I want, because as you said, every child, it's different. What safety they need in and what circumstances they need it in. But the lessons are all there.
Yeah, and autism is a spectrum.
Yes.
And all the kids have different skills, and there might be similar interests or similar strengths and weaknesses. But, that's a lot of parents have said, just tell us exactly what to do. And we're like, we actually can't tell you exactly what to do. We need to see the kid, how he responds, what they're learning to. The prescription is different, and we don't want, because time is a factor, we don't want you teaching things that you didn't have to teach.
Right. Absolutely. So there you have it. But if you're interested in looking at the lessons and skills, you can go to skillsforautism.com and check it out. There is a 14-day free trial, and you can just shop around in there and look at lessons. The one thing I will tell you is that when you fill out the beginning information about your child, they will ask your child's age. I don't know why, as autism parents, we all want to put like something fake in there so that our child can't be identified. That's the one thing don't do, or say that it's 2 days before, 2 days after, whatever, but make sure that they're the same age, because the lessons go by age. And it's very hard to change it later on.
Yeah, and because if you have skills already, because it's based on age, if you have to go back and change the birthday, a lot of times we have to wipe out your assessment and start over.
And I can't even tell you how often parents, I did it the first time. I was like, oh, I'm just going to say that he's 18. And then it didn't give me a bunch of lessons that I wanted. And I was like, why isn't this there? Well, because that's not appropriate for an 18-year-old. Anyway, don't do it. Put the right age in. Change the, I don't know, whatever you want to do, but don't mess up the age, because you'll be sorry. I've been there, done that. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.